single drop on my eyebrow.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah, it's a. Does the weather say rain today?
Yeah.
Like what percent chance?
It says 44% right now.
Man, I hate it when they do that shit.
Yeah.
They don't know whether it's gonna rain, so they cover themselves by going like, "It's basically a coin flip." Like, isn't it basically a coin flip if you don't know anything about meteorology? It doesn't help me. You're supposed to know these things.
I don't know, this whole week's weather has been changing every day I look at it.
Yeah. They don't know what to expect. That's got to be the best job ever. It's basically like the legitimized version of like a shaman
Yeah.
or something. They're taking a lot of the fun out of being a shaman. You don't get to dress up and act out crazy dances and stuff anymore, but you do get to still tell people like it will rain tomorrow. What's up, Paul/chat? Paul/chat? Hashtag Paul. Hashtag chat. Is there some gray in your beard now? There's been gray in my beard. There's gray everywhere. The blonde reddishness, the strawberry blondishness of my hair, I guess you would call it, makes it hard to see, but there's a lot of gray in my hair as well, especially up here in front. Like my bangs, what would be my bangs up here. There's a whole lot of grays in there.
Which is what you want.
I want it all, dude. I want to look like a wizard ASAP. So go for it. Get rid of all this color. I'm done looking at this color. Give me the gray.
Yeah, it's almost like turning white more than gray.
That's good. Well, that's kind of how it's kind of how my dad went.
Yeah.
He went like from this color hair to, well, maybe a little darker than my color hair, to like silver to gray to white, basically. So that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping for. Battle Ball Mechanicus Titan form. Yes.
Is that what would get you to cut your hair if you got like just super white roots?
No, just let it go.
Just let it be half and half.
Yeah, let it be half and half until it's done.
Yeah.
I just think that mine's gonna go slowly, so it'll.
Yeah, it'll.
I don't think that there's gonna be one day where it just all starts growing out gray. I think just like follicle by follicle, it's gonna go gray.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely don't want to cut my hair. Maybe if it got ridiculous, like if that did happen to me and it got like here and there was just like color down here, I'd probably just go like, all right, fuck it, snip, snip. Yeah. Get rid of the crap.
You're not balding though.
Thank goodness. You'd think I would be. Like a lot of the things that affect like premature or not premature, but like male pattern balding, the things that they think affect it are like stress and your diet,
low T,
low testosterone. I probably got all that, but no baldies.
Hairline's just about where it always was.
Mm-hmm. It may have receded a little here, maybe, but I really honestly don't think so.
Yeah.
I can't really tell if it has. I got plenty to worry about. I don't need baldness as well. But I've always had a back pocket way of dealing with baldness. Like as soon as it started looking baldy, I just go bald. I've been bald a long time, dude. I used to shave my head pretty regularly. I like it. It's very low maintenance. You don't gotta worry about shit. It's cool in the summer. TJ kind of has a high hairline. He always has, though. Like since I've known him, he's had a way more defined hairline. So I used to say I thought TJ was going bald, but I don't know now. Maybe he is.
Or maybe he just
He's very
settled
lucky
it.
though,
Yeah.
because he's not going like Pate bald.
Yeah.
That's the tough one when you've got longer hair and stuff.
I was watching Bill Maher just for shits and giggles the other night, and he's got some weird, like, balds fucking hiding shit
Oh
going
yeah,
on. It's like this weird comb over, but he still has, like, the back of his head. You can kind of see his balding, but, like, his hair's all folded over weird.
oh boy, he's got a Trump hairdo.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Yeah, it's interesting how balding is such like a big deal.
And then he had, like, a guest on that was, like, a forward comb over thing where they were just, like, trying to push it all forward.
The Bernie Sanders is what Bernie did for a lot of years.
Yeah.
He took the hair on like the back of his head and just pushed it up, so kind of covered up there.
It's like people can see the back of your head, Bill.
Yeah.
You're walking around and shit. Like you can get away with it if you were just sitting on your butt, but you're like turning around and walking back and forth.
Nobody wants to be bald. Yeah, I guess that's true. Nobody like asks for it probably. But I really do think that most people could deal with it way better than they do. Like Bill Maher, for example, right? A lot of people would say like if he like shaved his head, he would look weird, and I agree. Unless he has a beard. That's all you need to do when you go bald. Shave this up here and let this go. It looks cool. You can't tell me Bill Maher with a close cropped haircut and a well trimmed gentleman's beard wouldn't look just as good. It'd definitely be a look change, but
It's better than fucking this weird flippity floppity trying
you're taking
to
like
go.
your sideburns and wrapping them around your head until nobody can see your bald spot. Bill Maher has the mannerisms of a liberal wine-on. Doesn't play well with baldness. You're probably right about that. He might have to like masculine it up a little bit, you know, if he goes baldy beard. Not necessarily though.
Yeah, well, he's got like the little glasses now too. He's going.
He's got to get rid of those too. It's Lasix.
Yeah.
Shave the head, grow the beard.
Or he could look like a fucking hipster, man. Like just get like the hipster glasses and then the beard and the balds.
Yeah, he could. He would look very professorial if he did that.
Yeah.
I think that could work for him too. Wasn't Caesar balding? I don't know. I never met him. Letterman looks epic with his beard. Yeah, agreed. Dude, when Letterman like stopped doing his show and like the next time he showed up, he had a giant Santa beard. I was like, whoa! But he looks good in it. He could have pulled it off. He could have pulled off the, late show with David Letterman with a beard. Letterman Unchained, yeah, dude. Letterman Unleashed.
Yeah, we just need to kill the come over. It doesn't work. It never looks right.
It looks awful 100% of the time.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's like, it actually makes balding worse because when you have a comb over, everybody sees it, everybody knows you have a comb over, and then it's left to their imaginations what's up underneath the comb over. And it's probably way worse in their head than it is on your head. So you're really like doing yourself a major disservice because you're going like, man, if he's going to the lengths that he's going to hide that baldness, it must be gangly up under there. He must have like liver spots all on his scalp, and his head's all lumpy. They imagine it looks like Frankenstein up under there. You gotta have the comb over thing. My mom tells a story one time that I was real little, and apparently when I was little, they were going to a church. And the pastor of that church had a comb over, and my mom didn't know. She'd seen so many old men with that hairstyle, she just thought it was like an old man hairstyle. She'd never been exposed to the idea of a comb over. She was young, in her early 20s or whatever. And we went down to the lake for like a church function or something. Everybody was swimming, and she said that the pastor dove in And he came up out of the water, and his head was completely bald, and all his hair was hanging down one side. And she screamed because she thought some animal had attacked him under there. She was like, "Oh my god!" Went and ran over to him, and then that's the day that she learned what a comb over was. He had to go like, "No, look, Darlene, see," and like flop it over. She was like, "Oh, okay." I just said my mom's name, didn't I? Whoops. I think I've said it before. I'd shave my head first. Yeah, dude, I do pretty much anything. Other than that, that's a look. Toxic algae made her. Yeah, she thought like something. When she tells the story, she said she thought some fish had bit him and like scalped him. That's funny. Whoop, Lamborghini. Maybe there's a trapdoor spider living under there. Yeah, dude, you could. And you know what's worse? You know what's worse than a comb over is getting one of those like glue rugs on your head. Mm-hmm. Those are even worse. Those are awful. You take your whole bald head and you put this like thick white Elmer's glue looking stuff on it, and you literally stick a piece to your head, and you've got this like woven mat stuck directly to your skin that you sweat into. Like, you know, your scalp sweats like almost constantly, so you're sweating into this like mound of fake hair. Too many lengths, man. People go to way too far a length to hide that baldness. Just let it be. Just be bald and brave and beautiful.
I'd respect Biden significantly more if he had just gone bald.
Yep. My uncle got lesions on his dome from that glue. Yeah, I imagine. Like, it doesn't let your scalp breathe. Mm-hmm. Sikh guys who are bald are really lucky. Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, who could ever know? Went bald at 21 and it was a mental battle. See, that's harsh though. You went through the worst of the balding. Like, going bald as a dude who's, you know, getting into your 40s and 50s, starting to lose your hair or whatever, that's like normal. Being 21 and dealing with a bald spot already that's harsh, dude. I knew kids in high school that were already male pattern. Mm-hmm. In high school.
Yeah. Well, at least the like the hair pieces don't look as weird on a younger person, because like the hairline's actually believable. It's when someone's like 60 and has a toupee with like an impossible hairline.
Yeah, and it's usually a color issue with them too.
Yeah.
Like, guys that get toupees also want to get toupees that don't have any gray in them.
Yeah. But if you're younger, it looks a little bit better.
Yeah. Friend went bald in high school. It's rough. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Because that's really what's at the base of everybody's like fear of going bald, is this idea that bald is like your hair is a sign of your virility, and that's like codified in our myth language. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You got Samson and Delilah, and there's Rapunzel and all this stuff about like the power of hair, and how hair and youth and strength are all kind of like intertwined in our mythology. And so like going bald when you're 21, it just, you know, it's like a little part of your youth has been stolen, because you don't get to run around and be a younger kid or look like a younger kid. I kind of went through a similar thing, because like I looked pretty much my age, I would say, up until I was about 20. And then my whole countenance kind of changed. You can look at it in pictures. It's very strange. I had like these very childlike, soft, round features. Mm-hmm. All the way up through like maybe senior year of high school. And then my face kind of became an adult face. So like my cheeks got less chubby and my nose got more defined. My forehead started to get wrinkly, and I got this I mean, I already have kind of a round oval type face anyway, but it definitely like leaned out a little bit, became more adult looking. It was very strange to go through because in my 20s, when I would tell people, "Oh, I'm 22," the reaction was almost uniformly like, "What? I thought you were like at least mid 30s." It's like,
And you were shaving then too, so
yeah,
you had to like look at how it's
yeah.
evolving.
It's like,
But now it's like you haven't changed much in 10 years. So.
no, not really. Not really. On the opposite, still baby faced, yeah. Some people keep that. There's something about like the tightness of your skin on your face and how much like it's like a lot of people will go get like what you call it, like procedures done to inject things or to like fill out your face more, because it's one of the things that happens when you get older is like your face gets a little more gaunt, you know, and so people will like fill in those apples of those cheeks and try and make them look like they got like a more of a baby face and stuff. Ever know someone born with white hair? Both my sister and I were born with shock white hair that turned into platinum blonde hair when we were very little, and then slowly but surely as we approached puberty got darker and turned to this color. So that's not uncommon, actually. But yeah, actually, that's not true. We were born with what looked like black hair. So both my sister and I were born with, but we were born with tons of it. It's like some babies are born and they've got very sparse, feathery hair, and that's temporary hair. That'll all fall out. We didn't go through that. Both my sister and I were born with this like mop of black hair on our heads. And then after we got out of the baby phase, it just went shock platinum. Like you look at pictures of me when I was a kid, and you know you'd be forgiven for thinking that my mom like bleached our hair or whatever. It's just like literally platinum blonde. And then as we got older, it got darker and darker. Very strange.
Yeah, dude, I had a really full head of hair too, but I was also 2 weeks late, so.
Yeah, I think both my sister and I were late.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, you had to have been late.
I was a monster. Oh my God. The pictures of my mom are comical when she's pregnant with me. She looks much more like a normal pregnant lady when she's pregnant with my sister. But when she was pregnant with me, it looked like she had some kind of medical issue going on, some kind of monster growing inside of her. She does not look like a pregnant lady.
Some twins or something.
Because my mom was like, you know how some pregnant ladies will gain a little all over weight? That's totally normal. My mom kind of didn't. She was back, especially
it all went
back then.
into you.
Yeah. Back then, I mean, she's not a super tall lady. She's about 5'4". She's about your height, probably. 5'5"-ish. And she was real petite. And so she's got like these skinny arms, tiny little knobby knees and legs, and this belly that's like... Did you have to be a C-section? No. No. But let's just say that I left my mark on the way out, and we'll leave it there. And a mark was left on me too. You see this? This is proof I wasn't a C-section. That's a birthing scar. That was made when my big fat Irish melon scraped past through my mom's, what do they call that in your hips?
Pelvis.
Yeah, the pelvic opening. Turned into a torpedo and was like, "Arr!" So no, I was squeezed out, man. How much did I weigh? I weighed just under 11 pounds. I was 10 pounds, 11 ounces. That's like an average baby and a half. An average baby is about 7 to 8 pounds when they're born into. I was.
Yeah, so all of her newborn clothes that she bought just had to go in the trash.
Yeah, literally. I mean, she back in those days they didn't do that.
They didn't buy a bunch of clothes ahead of time. No.
They knew that I was a boy from the last ultrasound, and so they threw an "It's a Boy," and they got like the "It's a Boy" T-shirt. It was my dad, mom, and they had a little party for me and stuff after I was born. But I think most people just gave gift cards and stuff because I don't remember there being a lot of impetus to buy baby things back in the day. You would just get people like a gift card to go somewhere.
Now it's like you have a whole wardrobe for your newborn as soon as they come out.
Wouldn't have worked for me. I was a chonker. I'm very surprised they didn't cut you out. I'm surprised as well.
I think they were probably more reluctant to until recently.
They're still very reluctant to do a C-section. C-sections are dangerous. They're a really, really invasive surgery. They cause a lot of downtime for the mother, a lot of recovery time for the mother. And so they're basically a last resort. And I was coming out. So they were like, hey, let's get out of the way. I'll let him come out.
And then you just had to be born on April Fool's Day and torture your mom.
Yep.
You're not really.
Yep. My dad didn't believe her. He was at work and she called him and like, I think I need to go to the hospital. He was like, all right, whatever. Heard that one before. Yeah, happy April Fools. I was almost born in the taxi. My mom had to order a taxi because my dad wasn't gonna be able to get there in time. So she ordered a taxi. I was almost born in the back seat of that bad boy.
The poor taxi driver was probably like fucking
He's
white
like-
knuckling.
Like, oh, please don't fucking squirt blood all over the back of my car. I always asked my mom, I was like, why didn't you call the ambulance? And she was like, you just didn't call the ambulance back in the day unless somebody was dead. I was like, what? You were pregnant. You were having a baby. You should call the ambulance.
I mean, to be fair, an Uber is significantly cheaper than
And
an
probably
ambulance.
quicker, too.
Yeah.
Who knows, dude? It wasn't an Uber, though, obviously. It was
Yeah,
a
but like, that's the
yellow
equivalent
taxi.
of taxis now.
Like, that's funny. Like, an ambulance is supposed to be a person that shows up and stops somebody from being dead. But my mom's thoughts of it were like, well, if he's dead, call the ambulance. Have him come take him away. Whatever. Oh, yeah, dude. Your ambulance ride can be insane. Even I knew it back in the day. So I've told you guys about the car accidents I've been in. When I was in that car accident when I was a teen, I was like 16, 17, something like that. Sit in the back seat. A girl that was driving blew a red light. I got T-boned by a truck. Wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Got knocked in the head and thrown over to the other side of the car. Had to get stitches. They did all that right there. Like, I refused a ride to the hospital because I was lucid, I was awake, and I knew that it cost like fucking $3,000 to go to the hospital. I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't even think it was stitches. They just put that like little butterfly bandage on my head. Mm-hmm. And they made me sit there, and they did a cognitive test on me before they would let me go to make sure I wasn't concussed or whatever. But yeah, depending on what they have to do during your ambulance ride, it can be between like $5,000 and $20,000, depending. So like if they have to try and resuscitate you while you're there, or have to apply any kind of drug therapy or anything, right? If they have to do anything other than strap you to a gurney and transport you, every little bit of that costs hundreds of dollars.
And the sad part is they're paid jack shit.
Mm-hmm. You'd think that those people would make a healthy chunk of that. They don't. The ambulance company makes most of that, and they pay the ambulance drivers and paramedics way under what they're worth.
Yeah, like, if you're looking into getting into healthcare, just skip the EMT thing, because you're just going to be broke.
Yeah. Technically, they can force you to go with them if they determine you're not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can. Like if they show up, like at that car accident, had I been like, I'm fine, or whatever, they would have took me in, but I was fine.
Or you would have had to sign something like I'm refusing
I
medical
was a
care.
minor, so probably wouldn't even have been able to do that.
Yeah.
$2,500 to bring me literally across the street for every Grand Mal seizure. Yeah, see, that sucks.
Yeah, I think the one time I had to do it, it was like I could have walked there faster, and
Yeah. I've never been in an ambulance ride. I've never had to take an ambulance anywhere. No, that's not true. I rode in the front seat of the ambulance that carried my sister during that first car accident. So that's the closest I've come to an ambulance ride, was getting to ride shotgun in an ambulance. I've never been in the back of one. My little sister's arm was broken in 2 places, and so they put her in the back. They choppered my parents out, which was crazy. Choppered my parents to St. Agnes Medical Center, and then ambulanced us to a nearby one.
Yeah. I mean, they might not have taken you in an ambulance if they just had anyone to take you to the hospital, but both your parents were.
It was protocol.
Yeah.
They kept us together, and then we were given like a state over, like a guardian or whatever, for a few days until my parents were conscious enough to get my aunts and uncles together to see who could put us up for a month. Because they were just so out of it that there was going to be no, you know what I mean? No way that they could take care of us. My dad broke both of his legs. My mom broke one of her legs, one of her arms. They were just immobile. I remember the ambulance driver being really nice. I don't remember much about the ride, but I remember him being really nice because I was obviously upset. I'd watched my parents get put on a helicopter, you know, and he was just telling me, like, they got the best people in those helicopters and they're going to the best place. They're going to be just fine. Your parents are going to be fine. He was just very good. Like, he had a good bedside manner with a kid or whatever, which is probably rare, you know.
I mean, I don't think it's super rare. I think they get, like, shotgun riders a lot, especially, like, after a car accident where, like, no one can drive, so.
Probably so, yeah. I remember him telling me how fast the helicopter was, because I was worried that something was going to happen to them while they were on their way there. And he was like, "They're probably already there. Like, we've been driving for 20 minutes. They're probably already there." I was like, "Whoa." Oh, Jesus. Listen to them birdies chirp. Like them chirping birdies you do.
You don't mind a bird. It's just the dogs and the cats you don't like.
Yeah.
And possums.
And possums for sure. You don't like a possum.
Or a fox.
Or a fox. He likes a bird, though.
I don't know how you'd feel about a chicken, though. I've never met a chicken.
I just think he'd be fine with a chicken. I think he'd be fine with anything we brought in the house and introduced to him the right way.
Yeah.
I use the "it's a baby" thing a lot with him. When we moved in with the Kirks, and they got the kitten. Because at first he was kind of like, over interested in the kitten, as all the dogs were. But with him, I used the "it's a baby." It's a baby. And that kind of like let him know that it was supposed to be there, I guess.
Yeah. Until that cat started riding him like.
Started hunting him like a fucking buffalo in the Serengeti.
Then it was not a baby.
That was a monster. A vicious beast. Gotta cast a shadow. How is Diner? He's great. Diner's always chill, man. He's a good boy. He's a happy boy. Handsome boy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess his biggest problem right now is he probably needs a haircut, but
Yeah.
I think he'd rather not have a haircut than be sent to a place like he went last time.
We'll find a place.
Either we'll find a place or we'll find a way to do it ourselves. Because I'm not taking him to another one of those fucking places without like vetting it
Mm-hmm.
better than I was able to vet this last one. Because I'm not, you know, he's my best friend, and I owe him better than that for sure. He takes care of me, and I owe him the same level of care. And I'm not gonna drop him off with some asshole that's gonna abuse him.
I know you mentioned like PetSmart. They at least let you watch.
Mm-hmm. Like yeah, well, that's the thing is like you've been in a PetSmart, you see their
Yeah.
grooming area, it's all
Yeah.
glass. You can
Yeah.
stand there and look at them deal with your dog.
If
And
they're
so it may
doing
not be the
something-
best haircut that you're going to get, but if they do something to hurt your dog, you can pound on that glass and take your dog out of there. You know what I mean? This other place, because of COVID restrictions, I wasn't even allowed to go in. They had a lady come out, take him out of the car, take him in. She seemed nice, and then he came home with a fucking rampaging ear infection and about a pint of water in both his ears. I'm not having that again. Like, if he's taken care of by somebody, it'll be by somebody who has at least a baseline care for a dog. Yeah, mobile groomers. I mean, there are really great groomers that like have the touch or whatever. You know what I mean? Like Chelsea has that like aura about her that animals just find soothing and calming, so she makes a really great groomer. And the groomers that have that are really into animals are usually pretty good. But there are people that get into it that just want money and don't really give a shit about the animals. And I'm not risking taking him to another place like that. So he gonna get to be Shaggy for a while till we figure it out.
He'll definitely get something before it gets hot again.
We'll figure something out. We'll get it taken care of, huh, D? One way or the other way. We'll get it. You need some attention today, Jason? There you go. You're noticed. Just fucking like off topic as fuck in the chat, having your own little conversation, and then blah, 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 and so hard. There you go. You're noticed, man. You exist. There you go. You done? That blue wrench that's next to your name is starting to gall me again.
One thing I couldn't do is like have a cat that needs to be groomed.
Yeah.
Big old Persian.
Oh man, yeah. At least those cats typically have like a super domesticated, chilled demeanor, though. Persians are like, I could see one sitting there and being groomed, maybe.
Yeah.
They should invest in getting Chelsea one of those mobile dog grooming. She was thinking about it for a while, but I just don't think things went that way. I remember her talking about that for a while. She wanted to get like a little trailer or something that had all the sink and stuff set up in it so she could do a mobile groom thing. But I think it was like working with other mobile groomers that put her off of that. Like she would have had to do that for a while. And she didn't like the way they treated the dogs. I got queso. Look at you. Congratulations. That's a happy moment in anybody's life, dude. I'm not even lying, dude. Congrats. You got queso. Dude, anytime queso happens in your life, you gotta celebrate a little bit. You gotta do a little bit of the queso dance, because, dude, like, to me, queso is one of the most amazing foods that humanity has ever conceived of.
It's pure liquid cheese.
Just dip. Just like that alone. Just the idea of a dip. But then the king of dips, queso. It's the tip top, man. Is there a better dip than queso? I'll wait. Do you think there's a better dip than
beer dip?
Okay, but nobody gets that except us. My mom makes, and that's almost queso. It's just a different type of queso. It's nothing but cheese. But yeah, my mom makes this amazing beer dip that is better than queso. But for you who can't get the beer dip, queso's got to be the tip top. And fondue, oh man, dude. Have you ever been to a fondue place?
Mm-mm.
Dude, we got to go to a fondue place. We got to find one. There's probably one near us.
Yeah.
There's this like chain one called, oh, what's it called? The Melting Pot.
Oh,
yeah. They're a chain, like, kind of upper scale dining place. And they are great. You order all your meats and they bring them to you raw. And then you've got different types of liquid that you can cook them in. And then you've got your fondue that you dip the other little things in. It's crazy, bro. Crazy. We gotta go. We gotta go to the Melting Pot. No such luck.
Nearby.
No. Here, let me see where the nearest one is. That's a trip. That's a trip down now. That's a trip. Not an undoable trip, but it's not a pleasant trip either. We definitely want something else to do if we were going to go down there. We would not want to go down there just for the Melting Pot. I'm not going to sell it as that good. Oh yeah, dude. I think I've been twice. Because there was one in San Antonio, Texas. And I went there twice, so I've only been to one Melting Pot.
Yeah, all of them.
But they're just way up. That's a shame. Well, hey, if we're ever up in that area, we know what to do. There's definitely cool stuff to do, in that area. So we'll see. Paul, do you just slip into a southern accent when you talk about good food? Probably. Probably so. I slip in and out of it a lot. I was raised with one, so it's very easy for me to lilt into a little bit of country.
Fondue will have to wait until another time.
Unless there's a place around us, you can look it up.
That's what I was looking at.
Oh, and that's the closest? Damn. Maybe we need to open a fondue place around.
I guess.
I bet people would eat it up, literally and figuratively. Call it fondue-doo. That's probably not a good thing to invoke doo-doo. There's one by me. It's literally $60 for the cheapest. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a nicer. It's not a restaurant you go to all the fucking time. It's a restaurant you go to for a special occasion. Because yeah, it's a little expensive. It's also you get a ton of food in a way that's like incredibly different. See, what they do is they have like this proteins menu, and you can pick like steak or chicken breast or whatever it is, whatever kind of protein you want. Usually it's steak and chicken breast and shrimp. And you get that, they'll bring it to you, and it comes on a tray all laid out raw. And you've got these little, and then you also order different kinds of, I can't remember what they're called, but it's the stuff that you cook the meat in.
Hot pots or something?
That's not the name of it. It has a name, but I can't remember. But you have to order, there's a whole list of different ones that have different ingredients in it. And so they'll give you, and so you get, a couple of different ones to try out, because your meat will taste completely different cooked in one than it will in the other. But it's just liquid with a ton of spices in it. They bring out your meat, they bring those out, and they put them on, the table on the boiler thing, and they turn them on, and they say when it starts bubbling, you go ahead. So you wait about 5-10 minutes. It starts going. You skewer your meat, and you have these little special forks. You got like a whole stack of them. Put it on your meat, and then you just lay it in there and leave the little handle sticking out. and you wait for 2-3 minutes or something, pull it out, and your meat is juicy and beautifully cooked and has all that flavor packed into it. And then on the side, you've got a whole tray of like dipping foods, like vegetables. You got carrots and broccoli and cauliflower and all that stuff, all raw. And you have the same forks for it. And then you've got a pot of cheese. It's a couple of different ones because you can get different cheeses as well. And for those, you just kind of dip them in the cheese, and you can actually leave them in there for a little bit because they're raw vegetables, and they'll cook a little bit. They'll soften up, get all cheesy, and then you eat them. It's so fucking good. There's another restaurant too, but I've never like. It would be cool to get together, but you can't really go there as a 2-person. Buca de Beppo.
Yeah, I went to one for like before my prom in Seattle.
Yeah.
Just big little plates stuff. I mean, you could do it and just take the rest home with you.
I mean, either that or just order like 1 or 2 things to share. You would definitely end up still taking a doggy bag. TJ has a hilarious story about Buca de Beppo.
Yeah.
Because Buca de Beppo is one of those places where here's what they sell on. Family style, like traditional family style Italian dining, meaning that like you should probably bring 5 or 6 people because the entrees feed 3 or 4 people, you know what I mean, at least. So you do that, and then they have these waiters that are not supposed to be like rude, but they're kind of like saucy. So the waiters are kind of like always like kind of like goading you a little bit. And I remember TJ said that he went to Buca de Beppo, and that waiter, he ordered like 3 things. And the waiter was like, there ain't no way you're going to eat that. You want to pick one of those and then share, pick another one to share with somebody. And he was like, no, I want all 3. The waiter was like, you ain't never going to eat all that. I better get some doggy bags ready for you or whatever. And so TJ like literally raked the food onto the floor. He ate as much of it that he could, and then he waited until a guy wasn't looking and raked the food onto the floor so that it would look like he ate his food.
That fucking waiter must hate him so much.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's probably on like a little list that they had, like
do not serve. Such a TJ move. So there's probably like 5 pounds of like veal parmesan and spaghetti and meatballs and whatever the third one was. Probably like 5 pounds of food on the floor underneath the fucking tablecloth.
And I don't think
they ain't gonna look down there. I don't know if they've got carpet or not. The whole fucking thing. Hubris, bro. Yeah, dude. Spite and ego. 100%. The dude was trying to help him out and save him some money. Like, don't order 3 entrees for yourself. You ain't even gonna be able to finish one. And TJ took it as like a low blow. He was like, "What? I can't finish my meal? Give me 3 entrees. I'll eat every bit." I was like, "No, you ain't."
And maybe if TJ was like 200 pounds heavier, he could have done it.
It ain't even about heaviness, dude. Some of the most insane eaters in the world are these skinny little Asian dudes.
Yeah.
Like Matt Stoney. There's another guy too. What's his name? Kobayashi. He's like the champion of champions, and he's like a 5'3", 105 pounds soaking wet
you don't
Asian
have
dude.
Fat like blocking how your stomach can expand and shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like some of the best competitive eaters in the world have been fat dudes, but it's something you have to train for. Yeah. Like me, like you can't just look at a fat dude and go like, "Oh, he'd do good in an eating contest." It ain't true. It just, if you don't train yourself to eat a massive amount of food.
Yeah, because I eat more than you a lot of the time sometimes.
It depends.
Yeah.
I think people looking at me and the size I am probably think, that I eat like a way more. I just eat unhealthy things. Like that's why I'm fat and I don't exercise much. I don't really like sit down and kill a whole giant meal all that often. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll just get like the hunger of the gods, you know what I mean?
Yeah, eat like a whole pizza
or
something.
But most of the time, yeah, I eat a pretty normal amount of stuff. Kobayashi was not the Kevin Spacey character in The Usual Suspects. Kobayashi was the lawyer that Kaiser Sose sent to deal with the crew, to like make a deal with them, with Kaiser Sose. That was his name, Kobayashi. But Kobayashi is also the name of a brand, I think, and a very famous Japanese eater.
This is what we'll do. We go up and visit my mom. We'll do Buca de Beppo. I think that would be a good amount of people to do it with.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We could just do a big Buca de Beppo family style meal. Yeah. I always liked it there. I've only been once, and it was on a field trip, like a drama field trip. So our whole class got to go to Buca de Beppo as part of the. That was back when like the school would give money to the teachers to actually do things with the kids.
Yeah,
not
now
tons.
It's like
but
you have to give your kids some like lunch money and shit.
if you like at this point, you're lucky if you even get to do like. In fact, I would be willing to say that between, I don't know, I'm guessing here, I'd say 75 to 80% of schools don't even get the opportunities that I got in terms of field trips. Field trips are a different thing now. Like they would do a field trip when I was working at the school district across the street to the grocery store. The grocery store would set up a little thing and let the kids go in back and look at this and look at the meat and blah. But it was like, that's a field trip, walking across the street to the grocery store, because it literally costs nothing.
I think I remember seeing like one thing posted on the internet. It's like, you can give your kids some money to buy something at the grocery store, or they can bring their WIC card.
Yeah, it's just fucking sad. And like, dude, back when I was a kid, we got to go all over the place. We went to there's a Hershey plant in the Central Valley that's about 3 hours from where I grew up, like a Hershey manufactory where they make a bunch of Hershey's Kisses and bars. I don't know if it's still there, but there was when I was a kid. And we got to go to that and take a big tour of that, and they give you a big, everybody got a little bag of candy at the end. So, it wasn't like no kid missed out, and we got to go do something cool that was way away from what we normally got to do.
Yeah. No, it's like, I think I remember one field trip, it was like through like Boys and Girls Club or something, where it's like, if you didn't bring money to that field trip, you were just gonna starve.
Yeah, that's just sad. Every field trip I went on came with lunch. Sometimes they would pack these big ice chests in the bus. So the bus has those storage things you can put things in. And that would have orange slices and little sandwiches, pre-made sandwiches wrapped up, so you could just. It wasn't like a fancy lunch, but everybody ate. Yeah. Everybody get like a Capri Sun and a little cheapy sandwich and an orange, a couple orange slices to eat. And nobody was hungry. Nobody had to have a pocket full of cash. Same thing for that like Balclutha expedition that I got to do in San Francisco in the harbor, where we lived on an ancient, like not ancient, but like pirate age ship for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but that was something that had to be paid for. That was something that place did, but they provided staff to oversee it. You had to pay for that experience. None of that came out of the parents' pockets, dude. If you were a gate kid, you got to go. Just had to sign the fucking release form. I may be wrong about that. There may have been like a fee or something that the parents had to pay, but it wasn't prohibitive. Whatever it was, the kids, I didn't know anybody that didn't get to go because they couldn't afford it.
I think the lamest one I went on was like this camping trip, like this old-timey campground where like the soap was literally just a mound of duck fat.
But that is weird.
And like you had to sleep on the hardwood floor, and you weren't allowed to bring air mattresses and shit.
I mean, that's kind of what the boat one was like. There was not comfortable as sleeping accommodations and shit. It was a ship, like an old ship too.
But did you get a mattress?
No.
No, you just had.
There was like a flat thing with a blanket, like old style bunks.
Yeah.
So there was no comfort.
But you weren't like fucking.
But that was the whole experience.
Ass.
Yeah. Well, the experience was based around that.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna go live like a sailor for a week or whatever it was.
We were just a sprawl of children and parents on this hardwood floor in sleeping bags.
Yep.
And had to go to outhouses and shit.
Yeah. Dude, I swear to God, I drew the perfect thing for me.
Yeah.
Everybody had to draw lots when we got there to find out what your job was going to be, and I drew steersman, which meant I got to stay up late while everybody else was asleep, and I got to sleep while everybody else was swabbing the poop deck. Yeah, that I don't remember exactly, but that sounds about right. 10, 15 bucks is what each kid had to come up with to go on it or whatever, and that covered whatever the school and the state didn't cover. And that was only for certain ones. Like the one to the Hershey factory, I don't even think we had to pay. We just had to get the permission slip. Because the Hershey factory had like a program where they would let kids and tour groups come
They
through.
want to fucking indoctrinate some kids into wanting some Hershey's,
right? And tourists. It's a good sales point. They've got like a whole visitors area you can pull into, and they do tours on the hour. So it wasn't like we were getting to do something that nobody else got to do, but it was free. What if you pulled Cabin Boy? I didn't, though. The only other cool one that I thought would have been scary but cool was like the Crow's Nest Lookout. There was a kid that drew Crow's Nest Lookout, and they had to be hoisted up to the crow's nest with a harness on and stuff, obviously, because they don't want a kid falling to their death. But, they'd be hoisted up to the crow's nest, and they had to stay up there for like a couple hours in a clip. And that would have been pretty neat. You'd have got a pretty cool view of the harbor. But I got a way better view of the harbor, I think, because I got to be on the harbor at night. So one of the things that I'll never forget about that is seeing the lighthouse at Alcatraz. I could see it. And it was just so eerie. It would get so the fog would sock in, and the only thing you could see was that very faint light. Little fog horns going off, a bell every once in a while. Sounds scary as a kid, not to me. Yeah. To me, that was like tranquil. I loved it. I mean, it was a little spooky, but like, I knew very early on as a kid that I was a kid, and thus a protected class of society, and they were not going to put me in danger or something.
But did you understand what Alcatraz was? Did you ever hear there's going to be people swimming away from it?
No, because I knew that Alcatraz wasn't a prison anymore. I'd been on a tour of it. I don't know if they do. If they probably still do Alcatraz tours, I'd imagine. But I went on one when I was probably like 7 or 8, and saw that it was no longer a prison. So I knew I wasn't worried that some cutthroat was going to swim across or something.
That would be a fucking story to tell, though.
Yeah.
Our boat.
He hijacks the Balclutha, and we become like a bunch of pirates. If you have bad grades, you need to stay home and learn. I mean, GATE was like more about encouraging kids, because here's the deal, and this is gonna sound like all elitist or whatever, but it really isn't. When it comes to STEM, which is really what you're learning in grade school, some people have an aptitude for it and some people don't. And thus, some children are not going to be enriched by relearning things that they already know. I was a language gifted child, so I spoke very early. Before I was a year old, I was speaking in sentences. I was singing songs at, 11 months, 12 months old. I was reading by the time I was like 1.5. I think I was reading Dr. Seuss books by myself and stuff. So I was a very precocious language learner. And so I didn't learn anything in language class. And so they had this program called GATE, which is, during those subjects, I would instead go to another classroom with a bunch of other kids, and we would learn, read higher level books. Like in the 2nd and 3rd grade, I was reading books that were slated on like the 6th, 7th grade curriculum. So I was reading Where the Red Fern Grows and Cannery Row and like all these kind of books that they start throwing at you in the 6th grade, 7th grade. 3-year-old Paul reading Shakespeare, I would have. But my parents didn't have any Shakespeare, So I read Stephen King. and Tolkien, which I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do, because those are pretty foundational things. Advanced placement classes, no. Well, I don't remember doing it. Well, basically, kind of, yeah.
Well, I mean, did you take like an AP test for college credit after?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of. I mean, I was little. I was in Gate from like second grade through
I know, like
sixth.
they're mentioning advanced places. It's like high school.
Yeah. I didn't go into any special stuff in high school because I started to struggle with math in particular, and I wasn't standout like great and enough in my other subjects to be considered for Gate in high school. But I was, to be quite honest with you, I was tuned out of school in a way that I never was when I was in grade school. Had I applied myself, maybe I could have done the AP classes or whatever for some of it. And I did take some AP classes. I took AP English and I took AP History. So I guess I did take a couple of classes in high school.
That's easy shit.
Yeah, for me it was.
History that's whatever, man.
But yeah, history, the English class, I was always fighting with my English teacher because her class was hella easy for me. Like it was remedial. She was really trying to enforce this, like we're giving you a college level class. And I guess at fucking 14 I was ready for college when it came to English, because we'd have these big quarterly research papers and I would just do the whole thing the night before. And she knew it wasn't hard for me, and so that, coupled with the fact that my real interest was theater and I would have to miss her class for theater competition, she was always giving me shit about that. That actually, like, it was something that started off like a total rule change at the school, because it used to be at the teacher's discretion. Like, if you're gonna miss a class, that teacher has to say, okay, you can miss this class and go to the and if they said no, you were plopped. Well, this teacher lady that did not like me, it came time, like competition season came along, and we had like probably 3 big competitions we went to a year, and the first one comes up and I take the customary form to her and just say like, hey, I won't be here next Tuesday and Wednesday because we're gonna be in Amador. And she said, no, you'll be here. I'm not signing that. I was like, what? No, you're gonna be in my class. And I was like, am I not getting an A in your class? Because I was. No, you will be in my class. I do not consent for this. And so I was like, okay. I didn't despair. I had a contact. I was very lucky. Our vice principal at my school was an arts major. And so he was very pro theater. He was one of the reasons why theater was so well funded. So I took that straight down to him, and I was like, I'm getting an A in Mrs. Benson's class. She's not gonna let me go. He's like, what? And I just told him, I was like, you can suspend me or whatever, but I'm going on this field trip. I'm like, I'll be there to compete, and then when I come back, you can suspend me. I don't care. But what I do care about is that I'm prepared for this theater competition and I'm going. And he was like, you can go. He's like, I'll sign it. He signed off on it, and I got to go, and she was salty as hell about it, but it necessitated a rule change because there was never any shit given to football players. Or sports people of any kind. Our big thing was football. We had a football team. FUBA. Those football players, the couple of them that were sprinkled into the AP courses and shit, they had a game. Not only did they miss way more than theater kids did, because like I said, we had 3 big theater competitions a year. So it was like 3 times a year we'd miss a couple of days. Dude, football players were missing like every Friday. Oh, we're going to be football. Oh, we're going to be football. We're going to be football. Football. Sign right off on all the sports. So anyway, like, I don't know if it was just my case, but it eventually, by the time I had gone on, you didn't have to get permission from your teachers. It was based on you had to carry a certain GPA to go, which I think is way more fair and way more, like, you know what I mean, like, beneficial to the kid. It gives a kid like me that was really passionate about something a reason to care about the shit that I didn't have any passion for. Because if I don't do at least baseline good in this, I don't get to do this. Makes sense. I couldn't have given two shits about anything in high school other than theater. Theater is the only reason I graduated high school. Had I not had to carry a GPA to participate in that one aspect of high school, I would have stonered out for sure.
Would your mom have let you get a GED?
My mother would have gone ape shit if I would have even considered dropping out.
Yeah.
I never even brought it to her. I considered it. There were times where I felt like I was just being pushed up against a fence, where like the only good thing I got to do all day was theater, and I was just, fuck this, I'll just move on and little kid thoughts, join a theater troupe or some shit, or at least get to do what I love. But I would have never brought that to her. She was very adamant that I finish high school. It's something about herself that she was ashamed of for no reason, in my opinion. Having a high school diploma does not indicate anything other than higher ability nowadays, and even that I think is wrong, especially for a lot of baseline entry jobs. The idea that you have to have gone to high school to do it is just ridiculous.
It's basically just are you patient and persistent enough to shovel through this shit?
Yeah. But both my mom and my dad were adamant that I finish high school and that I go to college. College was painted as one of two options for me, and it was really carried out that way. It was either you go to college or we kick you out and you find a shitty job and you get a shitty apartment somewhere. You live with 6 roommates. And I chose that one other than the college. Who knows? Maybe a bad decision on my part, maybe not. I wouldn't have ended up where I was had I gone down the college boy route, I'll tell you that. And so I definitely don't regret how it went down, but there's a lot of pressure on people, man. Yeah. I had a working class family that was like, you are going to college. You are going to be the first person in your direct lineage to ever go to college. You're going to do it.
I mean, you still did it. It just didn't last.
I went to college. I didn't finish college.
If you added them all up together, you did at least a year, I think.
I did more than a year if I add everything together, but yeah. But it's okay. My little sister took that off my shoulders. She went to college, and not only went to college, but passed it like insanely fast. She wanted to be a teacher, and so she went through all the shit to be a teacher, and it's supposed to take like 5 years or something. It took her 3. She was taking like 20 credits, 22 credits a semester. She was just overloaded, but she was that type of person. She's just scholastically gifted. She knew how to play the game. She was too smart for all the classes, and so she just kind of did her time management thing and had her teaching degree at 22 years old, I think. Was ready to be put in a classroom.
And then she did it all like, what, 1 year?
Yep. And then, yeah, she taught for 1 year, retired to become a stay-at-home mom. Think about that shit. Talk about, like, not being roped in by the sunk cost fallacy. You got to give my sister that. Oh, I busted my ass for 3 years straight to power my way through school. I worked my job for 1 year, and you know what? I kind of want to be a stay-at-home mom and raise my kids. Bye. She uses it. She homeschools, so I think her kids are probably better off than a lot of people's kids who homeschool, because at least their mom has some kind of education training. She's a certificated teacher, so heard college is going to be less needed. It already is. Degrees that used to ensure a good living have become esoteric degrees now. Like degrees, like there was a time where having at least a generalist degree would guarantee you a job. And those types of days have gone on. And that's not to speak anything of these new boutique degrees that people get, where it's like, hey, chase your passion at college. Take a gender studies class. I don't care if that's your passion, that's great. But what are you going to do as a gender studies graduate other than teach gender studies?
Yeah.
That's usually the big job opening that you have.
Or being like a journalist or something.
Maybe. But you've got to be a journalist, you've got to double major in gender studies and journalism. because you're not going to get anywhere in journalism without a journalism degree. So you got to do 2 degrees now, or a split degree, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that and getting a degree is great, but if you don't have the experience, you're just cucked.
Yeah. I mean, you almost kind of have to cynically pick a degree if you want to do college in a way that's really going to guarantee to benefit you, which means you're going to have to not necessarily look at what you make a list of the things that you could see yourself doing. And then if none of them have good job prospects, if all of them are just funneling you back into academia to be a teacher or a professor, and that's not what you want to do, then you need to pick a degree that you don't necessarily care about. You know what I mean? Something that you know there's demand for. So the last time I went back to college, I found kind of a synergy of something that I wanted to do and an area that is constantly in need of people. I wanted to be a social worker, right? There's a constant need for social workers. I wanted to be an LCSW ultimately, which is, you know,
master's degree, I think.
It is a master's, but it's like a low. It's not like a full master's. It's not a doctorate, but it's like a pre-master's program or something. It's a designation that you can get and not have your full psychology PhD. You don't even have to go that far. But yeah, I wanted to be an LCSW, which would have been like a social worker therapist. So that's what an LCSW does. They do talk therapy, but for low income people who can't afford to go see a talk therapist. And that is a job that, had I finished school, I definitely would have probably been able to slide directly into a pretty shitty desk job somewhere at doing social work and then work my way up to a practice. So there's definitely a line to making, but I'm telling you, LCSWs don't make money. They make money, obviously. They make enough money to pay their bills, but they're not like other people in that field. You go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, you watch them get in their car. And they're usually driving a Mercedes or something real nice, living in a pretty nice house. They make decent bank.
You know what pisses me off the most about them is they'll charge you late fees and missed appointment fees, but they're allowed to be as late as they want.
Oh, yeah.
And miss as many appointments.
They can call and cancel on you an hour out. Yeah. But if you do that, you got to pay for the whole fucking thing. Yeah. It's just part of how they make their money, though. Got to make that bread. To be honest with you, that's what kind of, I didn't even know LCSW was a thing until I started seeing one. The counselor that I went and saw for years and years and years that helped save my life was an LCSW, and he kind of explained the whole thing to me. I didn't even know such a thing existed, and it really appealed to me. Being a psychiatrist did not appeal to me. I could not see myself living that, making that much money on people's woes and shit. It just didn't, I never would have pursued it. But he showed me that look, I make a really humble salary. I do this because I love the work. He had a really shabby office that he shared with another person, split into 2 rooms, you know what I mean? And that really appealed to me. The fact that there wasn't monetary gain at the very base of what I was doing. It was more about like, hey, pay me enough so that I can live, so that I can help people. And that to me was very appealing. So if you can find something like that that has a wide open market, like a really active, really wide open job market, go for it if you've got the will to do it. But don't go to school and get a degree just because, like, what I really wanted to go to school for was dramatic arts. I wanted to be a dramatic arts major and a technical theater minor. That was my first declared major minor. Was dramatic arts / performing arts and technical theater. So I wanted to learn to do the lights, sounds, set building. I wanted to be an everyman. Well, the problem with that is that really what I wanted to be was an actor, and that's not a job. I mean, it is for some people. There are ways to do it, but it's just like there's a million people that want to make money acting, and probably about, 800 people that get to do it. Haven't seen you since DP. Good to see you still doing stuff. Cool, man. Welcome back. Yeah, you should check out Deep Fat Fried, what I'm doing with TJ and Scotty. If you're an old DP fan who hasn't checked in for a while, might be worth your time. Check it out. See if you like it. We think it's a pretty fun show, and a lot of people think so too. But either way, welcome back. It's good to see you. Yeah, definitely check it out, bro. For a rare, talented few, it's a paying job. Yeah. And some people aren't even all that incredibly talented in comparison to some of the people who make jack shit. There are very few avenues that you can take that aren't just teaching. See, that's one of the things that I learned very early on in my college career was that I was going to school to be a teacher. I wasn't going to school to be an actor. I was going to school to be a high school drama teacher, a college professor, and I couldn't even see myself doing that. I tried to fit myself into that role in my mind when I was younger, and I couldn't do it. I wanted to be on stage. Like, I wanted to be working on collaborative theater my entire life. If that was my drive, that was my goal, that was what I loved. That's where I love to be. And there's just not enough stability in that. And I didn't even want to like be a loss of anonymity actor. I wasn't looking to be a TV show guy or a movie guy. I had no desire to do that, which limited me even further. I wanted to be theater, like live theater. That's my passion. Like, that's my true passion in life. That's the only thing I've ever done in my life, including what I do now. I love doing what I do now, and I have a lot of passion for it. But my true passion in life is being on stage. I feel alive in a way that I've never felt doing anything else in my life when I'm doing a show. When all of it comes together, I get a feeling that's indescribable. It's a transcendent kind of feeling, religious almost. If you'd forgive me the conceit, certainly spiritual. At what point was theater most profitable? I mean, in the days before movies, and even in the early days of movies, before they were popularized, theater was, the most important entertainment medium in the world. So, for a long fucking time, video killed the radio star, as they say. You get that feeling from the live DFF shows you've done? I get touches of it here and there, but I can get the feeling watching live theater too. I'm not a guy that reacts well to ASMR. Like, I don't get the ASMR tingles. But when I hear people describe them, that's the feeling that I get. When I'm either participating in or I go to watch a theater show and everything clicks. Like, all of the talent is coming together. The set design talent, the lighting talent, the directing talent, the acting talent, the costuming talent, the backstage talent, all of that, the stage manager, when all of that is firing on all cylinders, it's like it creates a bubble of unreality where my brain is so open and willing to let go of my reality and focus on this and what's going on in this little field of view of mine that it's so real to me. I get this rush of like, oh, just talking about it, I'm getting a little bit of it, just like a chill. Just like a hyper focus. I guess like a flow state would be a way to, just like, oh, everything comes together. And if I'm in it or watching it, it's almost the same thing. When you're part of that, when you know that your performance is an integral piece to a greater puzzle that's creating that out there in people, oh my God, yeah. Nothing in the world, dude. Drugs, sex, It's all secondary to that, to me, for me. It's the best feeling I've gotten. It's literal magic. Yeah, literal serotonin magic in my brain. Why give it up? You could do it as a hobby now. It is incredibly time consuming, and I would really have a hard time doing it as a hobby now, honestly. People don't understand. Like, if you want to be on stage in a production, you give a lot of your life to that. You're rehearsing every day. And I have a job that has me all over the place, streaming here, streaming there. We got live shows. We got this, we got that, we got this, we got that. I just don't have time. I don't want to commit to something that I can't do. I don't have the type of job where I can like the last time I was doing a lot of acting, I was working at Starbucks. Well, I had the ability to, because I've been there forever, basically dictate my schedule so that I could still get my 40 hours a week, but leave open just enough time that I could commit to being in one of these shows. And I was also in my 20s too. I mean, I was like a fountain of energy at that time, man. I don't have that anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not that fucking spry anymore or whatever. I just didn't need to sleep then. I need to sleep now. But it's just like, I would rather reflect back on the times that I got to do it. Why not try some theater now? That's what I'm saying, dude. It's not a 1 hour a week commitment like a lot of people think it is. It's like 20, 25 hours a week if you're doing a community theater or college level theater show, which is what I would want to do. So if I went down to the city college here and looked at their tryout schedules, you don't have to be a student to try out for their shows. A lot of people don't know that, but it's open. It's an open call. Anybody that wants to come and do it can do it. So I've done that before. I'm not a student at the school. I'm just going to do the shows. But it's like a 20 to 25 hour a week commitment. And then during performance time, it's more like 30, 40 hours a week because you're doing 2 performances a day with a matinee. So you got to be able to like take a week or 2 off maybe if you're working a normal job, or really push yourself. Because like, yeah, the performance schedules for some of these shows, because they do 2 shows a day and then they're done in a week or 2. But that week or 2, they got to pack as many showings as they can. So that's a lot of fucking time, man. It's not just like a little side gig that I can go do. Like if it was like a 5-6 hour a week commitment, I could definitely fit it in and give you guys 100% and give that 100% and feel like I wasn't messing off on either side of that, and it would be cool. But it's not that way. If I were to take on another 30-hour a week commitment on top of my commitment for DFF, which I don't even know how many hours a week it is, it's constant though. We work all the time. Something comes up in the middle of the night, we all gotta meet, we meet. If I gotta work on something that's due tomorrow, I'm up doing it, you know. So it's hard for me to see a way that I wouldn't be taking from one or the other or both to make it happen, so I won't do it. I refuse to give a half-ass theater performance, and I refuse to give half-ass, performance here. Money doesn't have anything to do with it, man. My job is my job, bro. This is what I do for a living, right? If money was no object, like money didn't exist, yeah, maybe I would do that. But who knows, in a world where there was no money, what would it even be like to do that? I don't know. We live in a world of money, and so it's hard for me to think outside that box in terms of the things that I know. One of the reasons why theater is so time consuming is because it's a capitalistic endeavor. Ultimately, you're trying to sell tickets to a show. That's why everybody is working so hard. You know. You guys wait there. You know, I get little jolts of that feeling I was talking about when I watch productions going on. Like, there's this documentary called This Is It that Michael Jackson, well, not Michael, because he was dead, but it was released after he died, and it was like the lead up, right, to this last concert that he was going to do. He was going to do this last big giant blowout concert. It was supposed to be his final one before he retired. He knew he was, you know, not doing well. And man, watching that that movie, something else, man. Yeah, the DFF premiere is live. Cool. So if you guys want to go check that out, go do it. You can always come back and watch this later, or you can go back and watch it later. But just know that it's out there for you. I don't remember what the show was today. Oh yeah, it was like in real life plot twists or something. I think it's the show we did. So go check it out if that's what you feel like you want to do. I always rewind. Cool. Oh, thank you, Cloud Massacre, for the 99 cents. D, what are you doing? Getting spooked by birds flying out of the bush? Are you gonna be metiche? Don't be metiche. You watch your yard. Yeah, we're doing a live grease trap for the patrons in about an hour. So there's that too. Delicioso contento de la patron. Black dog. What do you usually sip on for these? I had a cup of coffee at the beginning, just black coffee, and then this is just water with a little bit of Mio in it. You know, that like little sugar-free Kool-Aid shit. Toss a little bit of that in there. A little squeak. So that's usually what I'm sipping on. Water and coffee. I'll have a soda every once in a while, but I've reduced my soda intake pretty drastically from its peak. I'll have a soda every once in a while, like maybe with a meal, I'll have a Diet Coke or something. I used to drink like exclusively Diet Coke all day. You picky about your coffee? No, the opposite. You would think I'd be picky working at Starbucks for as many years as, I mean, I can tell the difference between like just like run-of-the-mill coffee and really good coffee, but I'm fine with run-of-the-mill. Like right now, you would think Paul's probably got like Starbucks coffee in there. No, we have Folgers. Why? Because it's the same shit. How did you come up with the Pessimist Productions logo? So we do these creative meetings, and that was the outcropping of one of those. We had a creative meeting at the time where we started realizing, hey, we need a logo, we need this like little intro thing, and we conceptualized a number of different Pessimist Productions type of logos. I think the first one that we wanted to do was just a really simple frowny face kind of logo, like almost an emoji. We wanted to kind of make a custom emoji that looked different from your average frowny face, but it had that same visual language. And we kind of scrapped that because it was kind of hard to make an emoji that looked different without making it look so different that it didn't play as an emoji anymore. And I can't remember where I saw it. I saw some piece of animation where part of the animation was the dude picked up a gun and shot himself in the head, but what came out over here was like a bunch of artistic stuff. You know what I mean? It was like a playing card, and like it was like ideas being blown out of his head, right? So that was the bit and I brought that up to the guys. I think this idea of having an avatar that, but then what comes out is, you know, maybe like birds flying away. And so we went with that. We did a Fiverr campaign or something. Not a Fiverr campaign, but we used this other website. I can't remember the name of it. But it was a campaign where you sign up, you agree to pay X amount of dollars. A bunch of people bid on the job. You pick the guy that you think has the best, or the person you think has the best work. You work with them, you pay them. And so that's what we did. We ended up finding a guy, and he did 2 versions of it for us. We actually have 2 versions of the Pessimist Productions logo. One of them, the dude has an actual gun. And that's how it was conceptualized at first, because it was really based on whatever that piece of animation that I saw was that I couldn't remember. 99 Designs, thank you. That is the one we used, I think.
Yeah, it sounds right. I was about to suggest that too.
Yeah. But anyway, and then we had second thoughts about it. We were like, oh man, that might like trigger YouTube's, you know, violence thing. And so we had to make us one real quick that had finger guns. So the guy does a finger gun to his head. So yeah, it's definitely like a piece of visual storytelling that I've seen before. Like I've seen in other places, the whole idea that, you know, stylizing the suicide, like the dark light kind of dichotomy that makes that such an interesting piece of imagery. So it's definitely not an original idea, but I think it's original enough to us that, you know.
Yeah, no one's bitched about it, so.
I don't think anybody would. Maybe somebody would, but at this point nobody has, so we're good with it. It's definitely something that's like could be changed in a number of ways if there, but like a lot of the things, the thing that makes ours distinct is that a lot of the things that I've seen are way more detailed and stylized. Like when I've seen that kind of visual storytelling, it's typically a very detailed guy's face with a really detailed gun, and then what comes out is very colorful and esoteric. And ours is black and white, you know what I mean? It's very stark and simplified and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, to answer your question, we just had a meeting. We had a number of meetings about it where we conceptualized some different logos and some different ways of creating a little production trailer that we could put in front of everything Pessimist Productions, everything under our umbrella. And we landed on that. That's how we got to it. The show itself was conceptualized in a Waffle House, yes. We had our first meeting where we came together to decide, like, what kind of show are we going to make? What are we going to call it? You know, how are we going to differ from our previous show? What didn't we like? What did we like? We had that whole first conversation in a Waffle House. So, yeah. The show wasn't named in a Waffle House. We named it later. Later on that night, in fact, the show was named. But the conversation started at the Waffle House.
Tell him you need to get a plaque.
Huh?
You need to get a plaque in that Waffle House.
Yeah. Get a plaque on that booth. It is here on you know, whatever day it was, 19 or 2017, that deep fat fried was conceptualized.
19.
Yeah, I started to go 1999. Yeah, that's an interesting thing too, the name of the show. Because TJ had this dream. That was part of the meeting at Waffle House. He said, I had a dream. You're like, you had a dream? He's like, yeah, I had a dream. We started a podcast and we called it the Southern Fried Podcast. And me and Scotty were kind of like,
You did not want to stay in the South.
well, that was the thing. Is that was you know, one of the first things that got brought up is like, it's my understanding that we're not planning on staying in the South, right? Like, we want to get the fuck up out of here. So why would we call ourselves the Southern? But I didn't dislike it, you know. So it got kicked around a lot, and I can't even remember some of the other names we floated. But we kicked around a lot of names, and then TJ he would not let go of the Southern Fried Podcast. I was like, we just got to do away somehow with the Southern imagery, and I'm fine with it. I like the idea of us, you know. We started even talking about like the fry basket, you know, and the oil, and having that being part of our visual language and stuff. So we were already kind of moving towards deep fat fried, and then all of a sudden, you know how I am. You guys watch me enough. All of a sudden, as I was thinking about it, I got this image in my head of a fucking. I had been watching this, and I can't even remember the name of it, but it was like a show from back in the 90s. I'd found an episode of it on YouTube the night before or something that was like done in this like mock Japanese style, where it was like a Japanese game show, but it was done for Americans. So it was like kind of like taking the tropes of that, and they would like, oh, and they would say things like all fast. And so and one of the little cuts that they had was like a sumo wrestler, and he would go and then say something in English in a thick Japanese accent. And I had that pop into my head as TJ was, you know, trying to get us to call ourselves the Southern Fried Podcast. I had this imagery of a big fat sumo wrestler going, deep fat fried. And so I just did that. Like I like acted like a sumo, and I stomped, and I was like, deep fat fried. And TJ, like, everybody stopped. And TJ was like, that's it. That's the name. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then we ended up actually using that for the original intro and logo. I just recorded what I did that night. Deep fat fried. So when we used the old logo, that's where that came from.
Yeah, I think someone like on the site was like, your kanjis is fucked up a little bit.
It is. I actually had Ashley look into it for me. Yeah. She wasn't like super fluent in Japanese, but she knew how to look up the kanji. Yeah. And it meant it's supposed to mean deep, basically deep, like the kanji version of deep, fat, and fried, but it really deep and podcast.
Yeah.
But it really says like I can't remember what it is. Fat's in there somewhere, but it's like big fat podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't read right. It doesn't actually represent anything, but we left it anyway because it's funny.
Yeah. I mean, why would you redo the whole damn thing again?
It wouldn't have been hard to do, but we just didn't care.
Yeah.
Nobody can read kanji anyway, and the ones that can, I mean, they're just buzzing about it in the comments. They're just bringing some engagement. Let them do it. Trying to remember the name of that show. I can't remember. I think the most fun conceptual meeting that we ever got to have were like a series of meetings surrounding our first animated intro. Dude, it didn't end up making us any money, really. I mean, maybe it did. Maybe it helped get us out there a little more, but man, we had this concept for that where we just really wanted to be like comic book level people, like comic book superheroes with alter egos or whatever the fuck.
You sold shirts with those characters, I'd say it still made you money.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. And we still use that intro from time to time, truncated version. We still use the visuals from that intro. And I think it would be cool someday to maybe redo that animated intro and just get a little fresh intro done. But yeah, those meetings were great because it was basically no holds barred. When you're talking about animation, you know, I mean, yeah, you got to keep in mind complexity and length equals money. But other than that, like when it comes to you conceptualizing your character, I loved those meetings, man. When we started meeting with animators, and when we finally found the guy that got it, he was the guy that laughed his ass off when I said I wanted to be just a big fat blob. He was so into it. The dude we ended up hiring to do that was a guy that was super in love with our project. I think it kind of shows because he really kind of went a little bit above and beyond. I think he gave us a deal on his normal rate. Like his normal rate was pretty high, but he was a dude that was doing nothing but like those corporate animations, like let's talk about sexual harassment. You know what I mean? And it's just
this is why unions suck.
Yeah. And so like he was like, I never get a project like this that comes across my desk, so I'm gonna give you guys a break on it, and I'm gonna do this just because it sounds so much fun. And so we let him go hog wild with it. But we all kind of had like, I think Scotty was the only one that really, like at the time, he didn't really meet with us. But then afterwards, he was kind of like, I don't like the way my guy looks, but he didn't come he didn't come to the creative meetings. So me and TJ kind of designed Scotty's look in that. We were just like, have Scotty be like an M. Bison, you know, have him be like this rich guy that's, you know, turns into M. Bison and have him have like a ship with a bunch of drones that he sends out or whatever. And Scotty wanted to look more like a German Kaiser or whatever the fuck. So, you know, that was his, he doesn't like his interpretation, but we like ours. TJ and I both like the way, because, you know, we designed it. I told the dude, like, I want to be an impossibly fat guy. And I want to be in a sauna naked, and you know it's not X-rated because my big giant gut is covering my package, and I want to be getting massages just from hot women everywhere. And then, you know, when the call comes, I want it to be revealed that it's all just like a hologram, and I'm sitting in like the holodeck basically, and I have these little drones that lift me up out of the chair and put me in this ball with machine guns on it, and then I fly through the roof. You can see the deep fat fried call logo or whatever, you know, the deep fat fried signal through the broken roof. He loved that. He was like, oh, I love that. And he really put a lot of love into my character, the way the little feet kick. I love that shit, dude. Like when I'm excited or firing my lasers, my little feet are going like I know, dude, it's cute. I loved it. I immediately loved the way it looks. We sent him pictures of us. He picked up on my googly eye. I didn't even tell him to. I was just like, he kind of picked up on my slightly googly eye and the big beard and shit. He just went with it. He did a really good job, and it was a cool experience to get to design something like that.
It might be good to find him again if you were going to redesign it.
Maybe. I mean, his art style was great. I think it like came out great, but it's also very limiting. Like he does only a certain amount of fluidity and shit. If we were to do it again, I would really want to engage somebody to give us something that felt like an 80s action cartoon intro. I think our intro now almost gets there, but not quite. When we first started talking about this, it was actually for an intro for DP. We had all these plans to like do this real cartoon, 80s cartoon intro inspired, like the one that really inspired us was, if you want to watch it, it's Mask. Go watch like the Mask intro. At least that's the one that really like had my thought process locked down, because it's so epic. The way each character is kind of like gets their own little like, this is me normal. Oh shit, here comes the signal. Bzz, Mask, and then they're in their big machine, whichever one they drove. And so, and it was just like all these super epic, like beyond Michael Bay shots, because in animation you can do anything, right? And so they're sweeping up underneath the car and coming up behind, and then there's a helicopter that blows something up in the air, and it just like nonstop crazy action, you know. And I think if we ever worked with somebody, we'd maybe want to find a hand-drawn animator or something to do a 15-second, 20-second, high-quality 80s animation style truncated intro. Or maybe even the full 1 minute one, and then we can truncate it down. But that'd be expensive. Like, the more time you're asking an animator to put in, the more you're going to pay, and hand-drawn just necessitates a different, different amount of time.
So become a patron if you want to see that intro.
Oh, it would be so dope.
Give them money so they can pay an animator.
It would be so dope, man. It would be so cool. Yeah, we were actually working on a whole new kind of visual redesign for the show, but it just became financially prohibitive as we kind of like went along. We realized like now's not the time. But
yeah, the pandemic was a cruel
mistress. Yeah, it was. I mean, that we were really like pushing towards a new visual language for the show, even a new like kind of like overarching narrative for the show, with a new intro and a new song and the whole nine. And it just started to be like the cost run-ups and the pandemic and all that shit. Everybody was scared shitless and money was tight, and we were just like, all right, let's put this on the burner for a while, let it simmer.
Is that a kitty cat?
That is a yowler. That's not Mr. Hello, though.
No. Mr. Hello is literally like, hello, 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 hello.
Yep. Loved it when you were all in the studio together. Yeah, I mean, dude, I won't deny that there's a different energy, but it's one of those things, man. Like, I would have been fine had the guys had a different timetable for getting the fuck out of Louisiana than I did. You know what I mean? I would have been fine, all of us kind of planning to move to the same area, get a little studio space that we all share in that area. In fact, we were talking about doing that. There was pretty extensive talks. But, for some people, picking up and moving is a simple thing. And for some people, there are complications in their lives that make it a tougher thing. And timetables for moving is like a life-changing event. And so when you're talking about 3 different people with 3 different families and 3 different sets of priorities for their personal lives, keeping them all in one place necessitates like being in a place that we all like,
That's still affordable, which is
right, which fits all the criteria that we're looking for. So it would need to be a place that me and Amelia and I guess TJ and Chelsea, they want a little piece of land so they can get goats. We kind of want the same thing. We want to just be out away from people, not have real super close visible neighbors, have our own little private kind of like place. So it'd have to provide that, but affordability and, adjacency to the types of facilities we'd need to do a podcast. So, all that stuff. I mean, we were talking about several different places, but it never materialized. And, I will not lie to people and tell people that I wasn't the driving factor in it, but I just reached a point where I was like, look, I don't want to, like, it was after one of the hurricanes, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't remember which one it was, but it's just like, this is the last one of these I'm doing.
It was like the end of the alphabet or something by the time we actually moved.
Yeah, it was like Zeta or some shit.
Yeah, it was like some Greek shit.
And I was just like, I can't do it. And so, we've been talking about moving for years, but it never materialized, and there was nothing holding me back from doing it. I had saved up enough money to get it done, and so I made the call. And I think that it's like it's one of those things you've got to go like work-life balance, right? And that was part of it for me. I didn't like Louisiana. I didn't like, the policies. I didn't like the general political attitudes, obviously. One of the things I liked least was feeling like a criminal for smoking pot, which I technically was the whole time I was down there. Every time I sparked up, every time I smoked up, I was, committing a jailable offense. And that just is stupid to me. So I hated, I'm a kind of naturally paranoid person, I think, and that definitely didn't. That was not a good thing.
Yeah, that and you just didn't have any like family ties there.
I knew nobody. I mean, well, here's the thing. One of the reasons I stayed in Louisiana so long was that I do consider the Kirks to be kind of like family. They're not my, direct family or whatever, but they're my really good friends, and their family really helped me to integrate in what little bit I was able to Louisiana. They were always helpful with us. They were very cool and very welcoming to me and mine, always. And so to me, that helped, because it wasn't like I moved to a place where I knew nobody. There was a family there that was willing to let me come to their Christmases and come to their Thanksgivings. And so I wasn't just alone in a place I'd never been. So that was nice. That helped. But ultimately, you know what I mean? I don't have any kind of like deep family roots there. My family's across the world from there. So, and I don't even really have a super deep desire to remain close to my family to the exclusion of being where I want to be. So, But yeah. Brothers from another mother. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. We just, as much as we disagree, we're all three of us hotheads and salty bastards and shit. We always seem to come to some level of consensus with one another and reasonability, and that's, the most important thing to me. I feel like I was kind of uniquely prepared to deal with a saltier way of doing business, I'm fine with it. It happens. It's not my favorite thing in the world to do, but when it has to happen, it has to happen. I get it over with, and typically we come to a resolution that works for everybody. In fact, up until this point, we haven't failed to. So, and there we go. I mean, yeah, we would love to, get together to do Dank D&D. That is definitely something that we could do. We could all fly to a place or drive to a place that was adjacent enough to where we all end up. That's a total possibility, you know what I mean? And once we're all settled and shit, visiting each other, if we've got these little personal home studios set up, it could be pretty easy to hop a plane 2-3 times a year, assuming that air travel doesn't completely disintegrate like it looks like it's doing now. Let's say it like bounces back and it's half usable again, then we might be able to like 2-3 times a year have the guys fly out to me, or I fly out to Scotty, or Scotty flies out to TJ, and then I fly out to TJ, however it works out, and we all do just a big block of content when we're together there and kind of pal around, blow each other like we like to do.
Fucking planes, man. It's like canceled.
Fuck that. Yep.
Nothing sucks more than being stuck in an airport.
Dude, if I'm on a flight to somewhere that's remote and it gets canceled, I'm not going. Especially if it's not just like a freak incident and it's like a pattern of like mass cancellations going on. I'm just not going. Give me my credits for another flight or something down the road when you guys straighten your shit out, because I'm not going. Like when you're canceling 1,200 flights a day or whatever the fuck, I'm not rolling them dice, dude. Traveling for me is one of the most stressful things that you can do. I hate it with an absolute. Now driving, I'm fine, but
You
I
can't
don't I don't
feasibly drive like 3 days in
no.
a row.
I don't look forward to the long ass fucking. I can do it and I don't dread it, but I also know that it's not something that's feasible to do all the time. But when it comes to like if I'm talking about I'm gonna fly on a day and it's more than just a puddle jump to like a nearby airport, it's like a stop off here, get on another plane. Dude, that to me is the most stressful day. That's the day. I am just like on edge the whole day. There's nothing I can do to calm myself down.
There's nothing you can make. You can't make the plane faster. You can't fucking get
You're at
people's
the
asses out of the seats
no.
faster.
I mean, you're totally at the mercy of a sometimes very tight schedule, and if you can't make it, you're screwed, and you're stuck in a city overnight while you wait for a fucking connecting flight to get you where you're supposed to be, and then it's there, dude. There's so many things that can go wrong. And then on top of that, I'm just a dude that's naturally nervous being on planes. I'm not like so phobic that I can't get on them, but I am not comfortable on a plane. Every little bump and jostle and shit bothers me. I don't like being up there. I know they're safe, like in terms of like comparison to a car. I get all that. I realize it's an irrational fear, but it's a fear nonetheless. I don't like being on them. I want the flight to just be done. And, if you're flying sufficiently long, your day is done. It's a whole day that you're doing one thing that's based on 5 or 6 different timelines that could fuck up at any moment. And it's just the most stressful shit. Until you land where you're going and get off that plane and get out of that airport, it is the most stressful shit. And then by that time, all you want to do is go to your hotel and sleep. So it's just literally a day where you wake up and the first thing you do is grab your bags, you go to the airport, you sit in airports all day, sit on airplanes all day, hoping that everything just lines up. And when it does, you got no juice, dude. Even if you arrive at like 5 p.m. or something, you know what I mean? You're just like, well, let's order a pizza and go to bed.
Do you think trains would be better if they actually like worked?
Yes, if we had like high-speed rail in America, I don't think I would ever get on a plane again. But we don't, so that's not really going to be a thing.
Yeah, fucking stupid Amtrak, but they're like 20-pound weight limit for pets too.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I can't sleep on a plane. I can go into a meditative state on a plane. That's one of the things that's helped me the most is like learning a little bit of meditation. So what I will do is I'll just close my eyes and I will meditate. And, I'll kind of like take little breaks when they bring me a drink or whatever. I'll look at the time, and usually I'm pretty happy with how much time and distance has gone by. So that's my kind of thing. I put my headphones on, maybe throw on some music or whatever, and I just kind of meditate. I'm prone to panic attacks too, so yeah. I'm pretty good at like controlling the outbreak of those, but it just requires a ton of fucking hypervigilance from me to keep myself from, having a full blown like panic attack. Because there's a difference between like building towards a panic attack and having one. It's a whole different ball of wax. One of those things you can manage in public, and another one you can't.
Yeah, like that's the shitty thing about them is like it's the public shame of them that's the most debilitating with panic attacks.
Yeah, I mean that's true. It causes people to not want to be out in public a lot. It's one of the reasons why I don't like going out in public, because I know that I have very little control over sometimes I will have a panic attack when I'm sitting around doing nothing. Doesn't even have to be triggered by a crowd. Doesn't even have to be a situation that I find abnormal or stressful. I can just be sitting around watching a movie and not be able to connect the dots. It might be something that's bothering me in my subconscious. It might be something triggered by some kind of visual thing or some kind of thought process that's going on in the back of my mind. I have no control over when and where that shit happens to me. And so I've had panic attacks in public a few times. It's not fun. So,
Yeah, it's like trying to convince people that you're okay but not okay at the same time.
well, yeah, because a lot of people have never seen somebody have an actual panic attack. So it's, it's not something that you want to do. Not a pleasant experience. It's the process of a panic attack. I mean, I think it probably differs from person to person, honestly. It's a very psychologically well known phenomenon, but I bet most people that suffer from panic disorders would describe it differently than I would. So I don't know.
I'd say that like dread is probably the biggest factor that I think is in common.
For me, it's death.
Yeah.
Death is what dread. So for me, and this has happened since I was a teenager, when I really started to be symptomatic, 13, 14 years old, I thought I was having a heart attack. I would lay in bed and I would be all balled up from anxiety, and then you get chest pains. Well, I remember at 14 years old being taken in, put on the heart monitor and stuff to make sure I didn't have like a heart murmur or a valve defect or anything like that. And they found nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with my heart. And that has continued on and on and on. And so for me, it's like a thought process that starts that, I kind of don't realize where it's leading to, but it's a growing tension in my body. And then I reach a point where I get this tightness and pain in my chest. And it feels, very much like a heart attack. And that necessitates a dread response in me. And that carries me over all the way to having if I don't intercede, or I can't intercede in that process at some point along that path, then I will be subject to however long it takes for me to, and it's not a pretty thing when you get all the way there. Hyperventilating, a lot of people cry. I do.
You can vomit.
I vomit. Yeah, you just get you turn into a sobbing, unconsolable heap of a person, and it's fucked up, because in the back of your mind that people are worried about you, but you also know that this is a panic response. You've been through this before, and you want to try and reassure them while you're puking and crying into a toilet. And it's very hard to do that when you're in the throes of one of these. You become very helpless. So. Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. If you're not a patron, become a patron, because in about 20 minutes, by one hair past a freckle, yeah, that's right, about 20 minutes, we'll be going live with a Grease Trap. Grease Trap is now a live show that we do just for our patrons, only for our patrons. But it's the same old Grease Trap that you know and love if you've been a patron in the past. So, and if you've never seen one, it's me, TJ, and Scotty getting together and shooting the shit, kind of like about whatever. No structure whatsoever. Kind of like a banter-sode. So if that sounds good to you, along with a cornucopia of other shit,